Finally, I'm just going to whiz through very quickly some of the things I've done with Cloner, which might give you some ideas. To be honest, I have no idea what is possible with Cloner. Cloning animations, cloning pictures, cloning video, affecting it with effectors. There's all manner of things that you could create. But these are just some of the things I've done so far. So the first one, we have a grid cloner, which is cloning this circle. In this case, the X and Y right on are being animated, which pulls the clones that way and up, and it's going over a position effector, which is just some text which has been blurred. So it gives this sort of 3D-ish text effect. And then the right on X is animated, so all the clones go out. And if you notice, the grid size is bigger than 1, so when this writes off, they write off screen completely. This next one is a variation, in fact it's a different version of the previous one. In this case, on the cloner, the X offset is animated over time, but it's set to loop, so the clones are being pushed that way and then coming back round on the other side. But at the same time, the right on X is animated, so it gets wider and wider and wider. At the same time, this text is being used as a scale effector. So if you notice, they are bigger slightly where this text is, and then that text is merged onto an orange background, which is then used as that merge is then used as a color effector to color the clones. And it sort of animates on and off. And then in this case, we're shrinking the Y size as well, and so you get this effect. And I know in this case motion blur isn't on, but on the previous case motion blur was on. And the next one, we have a circle, which is in a grid cloner. And if you watch these right-ons, X and Y, you see that the right on X and then the right on Y reveal the grid. Then we are using this fast noise, which is, if you notice, this is animated. The scale effect is being animated on, so that's affecting the scale. And then the X and Y position of the position effector is animated on, so then they start moving based on that noise. And at the same time, we have this color effector, which animates on the orange, which is affecting the color of all the clones. That fades, and at the same time, the cloner, X and Y right on, is animated back to that. This next one is very similar to the example I showed. It is a animated circle there, which is then cloned in a grid of 14 by 1. It then has no effectors on it. It's just the time offset of -2. But in this case, I think there's multiple versions of this, which are all very slight variations. And this one isn't using an effector. Yeah, this one's using the effector. When I'm using the cloner, I end up using the versions quite a lot because I come up with an idea that I like the look of, and I don't want to forget how I did it. But you see, this is all based very on the same animation of this offset in time, and then various. If I go to the cloner, various things of the cloner. This effect, a sort of stylized grass, is relatively straightforward. We have a background with a simple polygon mask, is then cloned linearly, then uses this fast noise to scale, or rather shrink down, the grass. It then uses a rotation effector with this animated fast noise to create the animation, or the sort of the rolling of the grass. And then we're using this fast noise, which is static, to color the grass. So using that as a color effector. So you get a sort of slight variation in the greens and yellows of this grass. And finally, we have a radial cloner of a circle with the radial offset animated over time. In this first version, we have some slight blending. So we've got the fade out. And in version 2, that's not blended, but the size is shrunk down very slightly. So you see they're getting smaller and smaller, in fact in both versions. That's then put in another cloner, in this case linear cloner, to get one effect. And then a different version, we have a linear cloner with some variation. In fact, my computer's slowing down because I'm trying to record and do all this at the same time. Another variation, which is a Bezier cloner of that radial cloner. And if I change the version on the actual you get some really quite nice looking graphic effects. So if I just bring up the dual screen, you can see. So this is this radial cloner on a Bezier path with a very slight time offset as well. That's a linear one with the scale, so it's like a sort of tunnel. And again, if I change version, you get a completely different effect. I hope that's helpful, and be interested in seeing what people come up with. If you could put any bug reports in the forum thread on WeSuckLess, it'll be helpful to me. If you create anything interesting, maybe link it in the comments below. Thanks a lot.